In today's video, we're going to cover an older story from 4chan, and I think it's one of the best 4chan stories out there, I think. It really embodies that sort of campfire story type feeling. I'll explain more at the end what I mean. I believe this story was originally posted in 2017, so it's a little bit old, but it goes like this. A friend of my dad's would babysit me sometimes when I was little. Mom wasn't in the picture. And he used to tell a story to me that scares the absolute shit out of me to this day. Dad's friend, I'll call him Bob, is driving a rig out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Oregon. Has to make the delivery by the following morning, so he decides to just drive through the night. It's like 1 a.m, no one else is out on the roads. Hasn't seen another car in probably 100 miles. He is literally in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly the whole entire sky lights up, instantly, like daylight. Bob fucking slams on the brakes, has no idea what the hell is going on. Everything stays lit up for a good solid 10 seconds. He can see everything. Whatever's happening, it's not lightning. It doesn't stop or flicker at all. Bob hunkers down, anticipating imminent nuclear devastation. Suddenly, sky goes dark again. No sound, no blast wave. He sits there in the middle of the road waiting for almost 5 minutes, then decides to keep going. Figures it was a meteor or something. Goes about 2 miles up the road and sees a car with its flashers on stopped in the middle of the road. Stops a good distance away from it. There's not enough room to go around it. Front end of the car is crumpled like it hit something. Bob figures they probably hit a deer that got spooked whenever that meteor went over and ran into the road. He gets out of the cab and goes to see if the driver is okay. Driver is sitting on the ground by the driver's side door. Has his knees up and is resting his head on his arms. "Hey buddy, you okay?" Bob calls. He stops about 10 feet away for seemingly no reason. Something about the whole situation feels weird. Bob is one of those guys that always listens to his gut, so he stays put. "God, my head is killing me," the guy says, but he doesn't lift his head up so it's muffled. "Did you hit a deer?" Bob asks. He's getting more and more uneasy. Something's wrong. He still can't figure out what exactly it is. The guy says he thinks he might have hurt his head, asks Bob to please help him. Bob takes a step forward, but his instincts are going apeshit. He looks at everything again. That's when he notices it. The fucking car is all wrong. It looks like what someone thinks a car should look like. It has all the right pieces, but there's nothing extra, if that makes sense. Bob says it looks like a cheap Hot Wheels knockoff. It just looked wonky and wrong. He looks around at the back of the car and realizes that not only is there no license plate, there's not even a trunk. It's just one solid piece of material with taillights put in it. There's no manufacturer or model names. Bob knows cars, and this thing is nothing he's ever seen before. From where he's standing, he can see there's no tailpipe or even hubcaps. It's just the shape of a car. He starts to back up and the guy asks him for help again. Bob tells him he can't help him, and that he'll call a tow truck when he gets to the next town. The guy lifts his head and looks at Bob. Tells him he thinks he might have a concussion. Something is really, really wrong with this guy's face, but again, it takes a second for Bob to figure it out. The next part is exactly how Bob described it. Everything on the man's face was where it should have been, in their normal positions. He looked totally normal, except for the fact that his eyes and mouth were on upside down. Bob goes apeshit and sprints back to his rig. Climbs in, locks the door just in time for the man to slam into the door behind him. How the fuck did he get there so fast? He knocks on the glass and smiles at Bob, but because his mouth is upside down, it looks like he's screaming. Tells Bob to open the door so he can come in. Bob fucking floors it. He doesn't care if he hits the guy or not. His truck easily pushes the car out of the way. Whatever it is, it's light and makes no sound when he hits it. Unfortunately, it's an anticlimactic ending. Bob got where he was going fine with no other problems. My dad knows the story, but I don't think he believes it. But Bob tells it to everyone he meets, so obviously he does. He's absolutely adamant about the guy being an alien. Years later, I heard about the Thatcher effect and nearly had a fucking heart attack when I saw it. I showed one of the pictures to Bob and he wouldn't even look at it. He says it's exactly what the guy looked like. Pic very much related. So that's the story. It's a little short, but I don't know. There's something about it. You know, just vague enough to be possibly true or believable, I guess. There's a lot of these 4chan stories, they have a problem with like suspension of disbelief, where they'll talk about, you know, them and their friends going off into the woods hunting like a ghoul, a cryptid or whatever. I don't really believe any of those. It's a little too out there. It's a little too much like a movie or something. But this, I could believe this. I think it's, you know, it's probably one of the best 4chan stories I've heard in a long time. But, you know, there's no evidence, of course, or anything like that, but still, it makes you think. I like it. It's a good one. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.